morning. Good to see you here this morning. Today we're going to continue working on our spring couplet and our spring landscape. So we'll start with the calligraphy, and I have my regular landscape brush here. I'm going to get it wet like we do, get it thoroughly wet, wick off some of the water, use my dish here to get my hairs organized. I want my hairs to be in a row and not twisted. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink, which I had already prepared while I was waiting for you to come. And then mix it. Work it into the brush. Get off some of that excess. And just a little bit of bouncing and tapping to see if I have the ink I need. I'll test it on my test sheet and we'll declare that ink. So we're going to start with the spring couplet, and I had given you this sheet last week. It's also attached to the email you received this week. We'll start with it in regular least script. Starting with the character for spring, we start with a horizontal. Of course, we go left, right, left. Another horizontal, left, right, left. And a third horizontal, left, right, left. Reset my point, remix my ink. And I'll do a vertical, up, down, up. Reset my point, reset my ink, and then a simple down to left, down to right, and down to right is a wave stroke. Again, just indulge the brush, keep resetting that point and remixing your ink. Now we build a little box. This is the radical for sun. Left vertical, horizontal connects to vertical, horizontal, horizontal. And there you are, character for spring. Next character is a character for daybreak, and that starts with the sun radical. So left vertical, horizontal to vertical, horizontal, horizontal. Again, reset the brush, remix your ink. Then we have simple horizontal, another horizontal, and a vertical. Then a pair of vertical dots, and yet another horizontal, and then ending this character again with a simple down to left, down to right, can be a wave. So now we have daybreak and spring. Next we have the character for foggy or smoky, and that starts with our old friend the fire radical, starting with those two dots, then vertical and down to right. Again, reset that brush. On the right side we do horizontal, then build small box, close it, and then pull two vertical dots through both pieces. Then under that, another simple horizontal, and then a wave stroke, just a little bit lower than that fire radical. Nice strong wave, and then connect them both with a vertical. Last character then is our character for willow tree. Starts with the tree radical, horizontal, nice, strong, tall, vertical, and then down to left, down to right is a bit restrained, so we can get the next part right, shoulder to shoulder. This side we start with vertical connects to horizontal, horizontal connects to vertical, vertical, and then horizontal connects to vertical and horizontal. And that's our complete couplet. In the spring at daybreak, we can see the willows in the fog. So now let's try that in a little more artistically, still knowing we're doing all of those movements for every single stroke, but we'll do it with a little more dynamic energy. Starting with the character for spring, we can do horizontal, another horizontal, yet another horizontal. My brush is getting a little bit dry, so I'll put a little more ink on it and rework it to get that ink nicely mixed in the brush. Then, vertical, down to left, down to right, a little more punch in those strokes. And then our sun radical, this can be done with a little more interpretation, but still being aware that we're opening and closing each one of those strokes. Character for daybreak, again with that sun radical. And again, just a little bit of abbreviation, a little bit of swagger in this. Now in this one, we're going to change the structure a little bit from what we did on the left here. Instead of building these horizontals and dots, we build these airplane type shapes, horizontal, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, horizontal, vertical. Nice thin horizontal, and then we end as we did before with a down to left. Down to right this time is much more exuberant and more pressing, more length. Then character for fog, once again starting with that fire radical, 2 dots, thread, down to left through, down to right, a little more pressing on that. And then we build the structure horizontal, vertical, horizontal connects to vertical, yet another horizontal, bring those verticals through, another horizontal, and then our wave, nice, powerful press, lift, and then connect the 2 to the box above. And we have foggy. Then lastly, our character for willow, starting with that tree radical, a little of a swooping stroke, nice, tall, vertical. Get those down to left, down to right, almost looking like willow wisps. And then on the right side, this horizontal to vertical, short, horizontal, vertical, another vertical, horizontal, to vertical, and then close it. And we have our complete couplet of spring daybreak with the willows in the fog. So that'll be our calligraphy lesson for today. I want to switch here to doing our spring couplet, and the spring couplet has 3 willow trees, the host and guest, and yet another guest, and then up above some distant islands, distant shoreline with some willows in the distance there. But we'll start with our host willow tree. Again, using the same brush, and get a little bit loaded. And then we want to start in this lower right corner. Stabilize my paper here. Now willow, like any other tree, has a tendency to grow. And if we look back at our model, that corner tree was way down in this corner. If you divide the paper in half, it's almost 1/4 of the page. So don't let those branches get too long or you'll be painting yourself out of the frame. So I want to, again, indulge the brush, keep mixing that ink, keep correcting my point. Now with willow, I start out on the limb and work my way back, pressing, a little bit of a turn as I make the trunk. And then start another one, out on the limb, pressing. And willow is, it's a strong line, but it also has some movement in it. So thick or thin doesn't make strong or weak, it's how we put the energy into it. So we'll start with the first of these willow branches. I'm starting out on the limb, staying in my corner, and then just gently moving, pressing, a little bit of a wiggle so I can braid that trunk and off the page. Always go off the page. Let's do another one here. This one is starting up here. Again, thin, pressing more as I come down, and again, just a very subtle braiding action to create that trunk. And the trunk of the willow is irregular. Then let's do one way out, almost horizontal, coming slowly as I press, thicken this, and that'll be my basic shape. Oh, let's do one more. Coming from here, going down and out. So that's my basic shape. I'm going to switch brushes now to do my willow whips and take my detail brush, get it wet, wick off the excess water, already trying to form my point, pick up a little bit of ink, and then work it into the brush. And I think we have we'll declare that loaded. Willow whips are more of a calligraphy stroke, so I want to stay more upright. I also want to detach my elbow and my arm from the table if I can, or at least don't park it. I can't complete the stroke if my arm is struck, so better to lift it. It may feel more difficult, and that's true, it is. And just follow the first branch and just pull it off and pull it down. And so your whole arm can move, your shoulder can move. This is going to help build your stroke strength. So I'll start with that first branch I did. I want to go back onto the trunk and just follow that branch and just complete it by making a turn, coming and lifting. You can do another one, again following, going up here a little bit sooner, coming down and lifting. Do another one, going up, a little bit of a press at the top is nice, and then lift. Do another one from out of the top of this one and down and lift. Again, going back, need a good point to do a willow branch. So just keep going back to your dish and indulging it. Let's do another one coming out here, up, down, and then I can do a couple that just sort of come out from the side of these to add a little more complexity. So that's my first group. If you look at your model, look at the host tree, you want to identify 1, 2, 3, 4 different groups. You have to use your eye to break down the tree into its respective groups. 2 sets of skills here, very important. One is just the use of the brush, of being able to come off of that branch, come up and come down, lifting as you come without leaving the page. The other skill is how do you organize it? And so you have 2 skills that are challenging you in doing this. I'm going to start another branch here, Just want to follow, going upwards, and then down, gently lifting as I go. Fix my point. Come another one coming out of this branch, going even farther up, coming down again, and fix my point. Another one coming out, coming down, another one coming out of this one, up, down. Pick up a little more ink. My brush is getting a little dry. You want the stroke to flow. You don't want it too dry of a stroke. And I'll do another one coming up a little bit higher and out, and one coming off of there, up and down. And on this one, which is more vertical, I can also come off the other side. So come up and down. Maybe do that again, one, up and down. And maybe another one just coming off of there for good measure. So now I have two groups. So we have two more branches here that we need to populate. Let's start with this long, almost horizontal one. We want to follow the arc of that line, hit the paper, and just pull it out to its natural conclusion. Do another one coming up. A little bit of a press at top and then down. Now my brush is getting a little bit dry, so I want to loosen up that ink. Make sure I didn't do too much. Wick off some of that excess. Be sure I have a perfect point. Okay, let's do another one on that long branch. We can follow this one coming up and down, up and down. Coming off of this one, going up and down, and another one up and down. And maybe another one there and there. So 3 of our 4 branches are complete. We'll now do the last one, which is the short one. Doesn't have too much on it, but just again following that curve. You want it to be a complete curve. There is a structure here. And there we have it. We'll call that a complete tree. Now I want to do the one coming from the left side, which is basically a left-handed willow tree. And again, we start from out on the limb and then just slowly bringing it back, pressing as I come down. A little bit of a move, but you don't want it too wiggly because it'll make for a weak tree. So just a gentle movement, slow press, because you keep adding in each layer. Fix my point and remix my ink. Another one coming out a little farther here, back in, and then I think one more coming up, press, and again I'm going boldly off the page. I don't want to leave an edge on my page, a border. You want to have the brush strokes go totally off the page and make the painting bigger for that. Now I will do my willow wisps, and we'll start with this piece and just follow that curve and come down, up and down, up and down. Fix my point. Up and down. Come off this branch, just complete that curve. This one crosses, maybe another one coming forward of that. You want it to have a little bit of interest without getting too cluttered. The danger in doing willow is in thinking, if this isn't working well, if I just add one more, it's going to be better. And unfortunately, that isn't always the case. So part of the discernment in this is learning when to stop. When is enough enough? And that, as is true in many cases, is a transferable skill, and a good one to have in your life in general. And then I have one more trunk here, and this is a little bit gray, and if you're paying attention, which I certainly hope you are, you'll notice I hadn't switched back to my larger landscape brush to do that trunk, and that was an error, but we'll just continue on. We have the second trunk of the same tree, starting a little bit higher, pressing, coming down, and that trunk again goes off the page. We have another branch coming out here. And then we make our brush well loaded and pointed, bring up this one branch out and down, up and down. And now we're beginning to create some density with these trees overlapping. Try another one here, coming up and down, a little higher and down. Try to vary the angle and the trajectory of each one of these so that you get a little more interest. If it's the same exact shape and diameter of that arc, it'll be a little less interesting. And then this one can also come in the other direction and go off the other side. And so these can move both ways. And you sort of want to create this top piece. It almost looks like a bubbling water fountain. And just this collection or accumulation of shapes that makes it very willow-like. So, 2 trees done. Now our third one. Again, this time I will remember to switch my brushes. And this tree is a little bit gray, so I'm going to want to lighten up my brush, maybe take a little bit of tissue, dry off the brush I've been using, loosen up that ink in the mixing dish. I do this a couple of times just to get the right shade. Let's test it. A little bit lighter than that. If it's too much of a strain to get a light gray, you might just go and wash your brush and start fresh. There's no problem with that. Okay, we got a little bit lighter. So now we'll do the third tree. This is behind that first host tree. It's a quite tall, so it does come quite some way out, and long and slow, and I'm pressing as I go and off the page. Do another one, starting about here, coming down, pressing. Again, this, that gentle kind of weaving to get the shape of the trunk. Another one here, coming down, and again going boldly off the page. Then back to my detail brush, and again lightening the tone just a bit, not a whole lot. If I do it too much, then when it dries it'll disappear, and that won't serve me well. So now I have a nice mid-gray. I'm going to bring this up, and again I want to look at the tree that I'm painting and say, okay, 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, 6 groups, maybe even 7 depending on how I'm counting. So let's start with this first one, and I come out and I continue that arch. I can also go the other direction with some of these. Fix my brush. And pull some out of as side branches. Then I can come back down to this branch, pull that out, bring it down, up, down, up, down. And fix my tip and continue. This one comes the other way, up to the right, up to the right. And some of these I can bring down and bring down behind that host tree. Go the other way, up and down, up, down. And this taller tree is a little more, the branches are longer, so that will be more of a challenge. Now I have this one, yet another branch coming off of here, going a little bit higher. Fix my point. And then the other way. And again, sort of looking for that kind of bubbling, effervescent quality at the top. And then over here we have what's actually more of an independent group. There's no obvious source for it, but it is yet another group. Some of these are just partial. And then another one over here, up, down. And we'll call that complete for now. And I think that'll be it for today. If you want to practice both your calligraphy and 1, 2, 3 trees, next time we meet, I will detail the water that's running under these trees, and then also detail the distant shoreline with its baby trees. You can certainly practice that on your own if you wish. Otherwise, just tune in next. I'll be posting these on Tuesday mornings. And also just want to be clear that since we're not able to be meeting in person, feel free, take a picture of what you've done, email it to me, and I will try and get back to you, I'd say within 48 hours with a gentle critique, and so you can continue on your work while we're needing to keep this kind of distance. So thanks for taking the time, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye-bye.